Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Week 3 Psychology of Play virtual lecture. Today, we'll be talking from 2 to 4 o'clock about a lot of the Week 3 concepts that you may already be familiar with if you've completed the readings for this week. But if not, no worries. We're going to go over most of it, and you will be able to refer back to that when you have time. My name is Stephanie Fetchard, and I'm one of the instructors for Psychology of Play. Hello to all my students that are here today. It's nice that I'm able to experience a live session with you because we do team teach for Psychology of Play, so you haven't heard from me yet. This picture of me on here, just a little bit about me. The one on the right, you're probably wondering what the heck that is, but that's, we had a cardboard challenge day where we had to make an object from our childhood out of recyclable objects, and we got into teams and we just spent an hour just building something, and it was really a lot of fun. So that's actually what we're going to be talking about today, is the value of play in society. And we don't just teach that here at Full Sail, we live it. So there's always a lot of fun events going on around campus for staff and for students to get us involved, get a break from our day, and that can kind of help get our creative juices flowing and give us a recharge. So that's a little bit about me. This is what our plan is for today. So we're going to start off by talking about motivation, what motivates you, what the research shows about motivation. Then we're going to move on to gamification and look at some examples. And then we're going to talk about how play can be used in the workplace and talk about some different companies that are doing that right now. And then we're going to kind of switch gears and talk about conflict and conflict management styles, do an activity together, and then learn about your style of dealing with conflict. So hopefully we have some fun together today, and the more participation from you guys, the faster this goes by. Also, like I said, I'm going to do a couple activities later, so keep that in mind if you are interested. Also, I show some videos here and there, so make sure you are able to go to your material section and click on those links, and when I give you instructions to do so, and we'll watch those together. All right, any questions before we jump into the material? And this session is recorded, so if you, for some reason, need to leave early or something comes up, don't worry. It will be posted by tomorrow at noon. I know someone's mentioning Brandon, your instructor. The best way to reach out to your instructor is on the platform in the messaging function. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So if you've done the reading, you know who Daniel Pink is, but he's an American author and he's written a bunch of books about business, work, and management. And he explains that we are currently living in a time when traits like imagination and creativity are the utmost important in business. And that's not what you would think, right? You might think, well, isn't it important to have the skills and be able to solve problems? But we're in what he calls the conceptual age. So just like machines have kind of replaced our bodies to do certain types of jobs, we have robots and things like that, and software is replacing our left brains by doing logical sequential work. So what else do we need? Well, we're no longer in the information age. We have all the information we need at our fingertips, right? So what is important in an employee? Well, it's all that right brain stuff. Artistry, empathy, inventiveness, big picture thinking. And those are the skills that are becoming most important in the business world. So what motivates us? Since we're kind of talking about career in this lecture, well, we're not as predictable as you might think, according to Dan Pink. So he brings up the point that we may think that giving out huge bonuses for employee accomplishments would encourage people to work harder towards their goals and result in even better accomplishments, but that's actually a misconception. So what are the reasons behind why people work and what motivates them? So let's look at the research about that. Intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation. Does anyone know what the difference is? You could type in the chat box or raise your hand. What is the difference between intrinsic motivation and extrinsic. Shauna Son, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Yourself and others, okay. So yourself being the intrinsic and others being the extrinsic, okay. Dennis says the second, so extrinsic is like money or promotion as a motivation, okay. Dennis says the first is you do it for the sake of self-improvement and the joy of it. Yes, exactly. Emma says intrinsic is inward motivation, okay, good way to put it. Alyssa says intrinsic is focusing on what you want for yourself, like love, and extrinsic is focusing on things like money or objects. Yes, great way to put it. Otero says inward motivation, outward motivation, okay? Good way to simplify that. Yeah, you guys are on the right track. So intrinsic motivation is doing an activity for inherent satisfaction or enjoyment rather than for some external consequence. So you do something because you find meaning in it, you enjoy it, and that doing that activity yourself itself is what motivates you. Whereas extrinsic motivation is doing something because it leads to a separable outcome or reward, like fame or money. So let's talk about this a little bit. I want you guys to take out a piece of paper or your phone or wherever you can write something down, and I want you to list 1, 2, 3, 4. Number 1, what is one thing that motivates you? So why are you here at Full Sail? What is motivating you to be here and work towards your goal of graduation? What's motivating you to do that? Number 1. Number 2, let's say, for example, it's fame or money. Number 2, is it intrinsic or extrinsic? Okay, that would be extrinsic, right? Number 3, what do you believe most people are motivated by, intrinsic or extrinsic? And number 4, which works best, do you think, intrinsic or extrinsic motivation? So once you have that typed up, put it all together in the chat box, and then we can see some of your answers. All right, just waiting on you guys for whoever wants to share. All right. Alyssa says, number 1, having a career that allows me to blur the lines between work and play. Woohoo! And that she says that's intrinsic. Yes, I'd agree. You believe that most people are motivated by extrinsic factors, but you think that intrinsic works better. Okay. Let's see. Dennis says, hold on, let me scroll up. To follow my childhood dream, and he believes that's intrinsic. Most people are motivated by extrinsic, and extrinsic works better. Okay. Kyle says, my motivation is to see enjoyment in others for games I design. I suppose that would be extrinsic, but I believe most people are motivated intrinsically. I think extrinsic works best. Well, seeing people enjoy themselves because of the games you create, wouldn't that be more of an intrinsic motivation? Wanting to see people happy, right? Dylan says personal independence. That's intrinsic. He believes intrinsic factors are more motivating, and extrinsic works best. Okay, well, I didn't get to read everyone's because it scrolls kind of quickly. Kelly says success, and that's extrinsic. And Kelly believes extrinsic are most people are motivated by, and it's a little bit of both. Okay, so as you can see, there's no correct answer for this, right? Everybody's motivated by different things. a lot of times we have more than one motivator. Obviously, we all need to survive and pay bills and have a certain lifestyle that we want, right? And so we obviously are motivated by paychecks, right? And we can have both, right? It's not one or the other. We can be motivated by different things. But what the research is showing, if you want to be motivated in the long term, intrinsic motivators are going to be more helpful to you. So if you're doing something because you feel good about it and the outcome is something that's going to make you feel personally satisfied, you are more likely to continue being motivated, right? Whereas if you're just driven by a paycheck, eventually after time, it's not going to feel as good and you're not going to be as motivated in that situation. Now, what are most people motivated by? Well, I mean, I guess it's up to the person. We might see, it depends on who we're around, like if you're looking at a bunch of celebrities on Instagram, what does it show, paint a picture that they're motivated by, right? Cars and money and flashy things and all these things, right? So it depends on who you look at, right? But people that are intrinsically motivated are probably going to come across in a different way. So which works best? Well, like I said, in the long term, the research shows that intrinsic motivation is going to keep your motivation for a longer period of time. But obviously, we have both motivators usually working together. Make sense? Okay. So this brings us to the candle problem. But before I explain it, let me ask you a question. This goes along with motivation and what motivates people. Do you think monetary rewards make people work harder? Yes or no? Just go with your gut reaction. There's a poll on the screen. Just go ahead and type it directly or vote directly on the poll. Do you think rewards make people work harder? All right, 48% of you have voted. That's only half the class. So if you are able to, please vote on the poll that you should have popped up on your screen, and we can get a consensus for the class. 70%. I'll give you a couple more seconds, and then I'm going to close the poll. Let's go with your first thought. All right, 78%. That's pretty high. Okay, so you should see the results now on your screen. 78% of you voted, and 76% of you believe that yes, rewards make people work harder. And 24% of you believe no. So what they did in order to figure out the answers to this question is, of course, psychologists like to do studies about it. I see some of you wrote some stuff in the chat box. No, and the reason for that is people are too focused on the reward, then they're focused on the job they're doing. Okay, let's see if you're right. According to the candle problem, this is an experiment done by psychologist Carl Dunker, and participants had the task of, hey, you're here to solve this problem. You need to fix a lit candle on the wall so that the candle wax won't drip onto the table below. And these are the only supplies that they had, were the matches, thumbtacks, box, candle. So who knows how to solve this problem? If you did the reading, watch the video, you know. Okay, what do they do, Alyssa? How do they solve this problem? Okay, Alyssa says, use the thumbtack box to hold the candle, then stick the box to the wall with the tacks. Dennis says, empty the box, tack the box with 3, 1 to hold the candle, 2 to stick to the wall. Very good. Okay. So, don't feel bad if you didn't get that right away, if you didn't get the reading. It does take a couple minutes to figure it out, and it's easier when the objects are in front of you. But this wasn't the only part of the study. They didn't just want to solve problem solving. They wanted to, Dennis said, it's okay, I did the reading, saw the video already. Yeah, so you knew the answer. Good job paying attention. So they studied 2 different groups with the same exact problem. One group was the low drive group. They did not receive an reward or anything for completing the activity. They were just told, hey, we're studying problem solving. Here you go. Thank you for participating. The high drive group, on the other hand, were told that depending on how quickly they solve the problem, they can win money, and only the top 25% would win these cash prizes. So there's limited resources here. They had to be on their game. So let me ask you a follow-up question with the poll. Which group do you think solved the problem faster? The low drive group with no reward, or the high drive group with the reward? Go ahead and vote right in the poll on your screen. Let's see if we can get back up to that 78% of you voting. If you haven't voted, go ahead and vote now. Oh, someone changed their answer. All right, 76% of you voted again. Now, pretty similar to our results before. You believe that people, when they're rewarded, they're going to work harder. Smaller percentage of you believe that no rewards are going to work harder. Well, what is the answer? For those of you who said the low drive group, you are correct. The low drive group took 3 minutes less time on average to solve the problem. Okay, so why is that? Andrew says no pressure, not under pressure to get the reward. Kelly said self-motivated. Kyle says they're more motivated by means other than monetary. Yep, tying it back into that extrinsic versus intrinsic. They weren't pressured, says Dennis, and didn't feel stressed, which hinders thinking. Exactly. Jonathan, when something is put on the line, it becomes difficult to think. Emma says they aren't focused on extrinsic motivation. Yes, exactly. So what was found that when you turn the task into a competition for limited resources, it created mild levels of stress in the subject. And when you're under stress, the fight or flight response kicks in, takes over the brain and the body, and basically your creative thinking and problem solving areas of the brain and the prefrontal cortex, which you guys learned about last week, get shut down. So what does this experiment show? Well, rewards can narrow our focus and restrict our possibilities for coming up with problems or solutions to problems. Okay. So hypothetical situation. Let's say I'm going to Venmo someone in this class who creates the most innovative t-shirt design for Psychology of Play for $1,000. What would happen here? And I said, you need to complete this by the end of today. Hypothetically. I don't have $1,000. Michael says death by... Yes. If you were in the classroom all together right now, you might have a little bit of cage match. Alyssa said people would all submit something thrown together designs. Okay. Yeah, you're right. Probably. Everyone would want to at least try. A couple of people said collaborate together, but then what do you do with the prize money? Don't you think there's going to be one person in there? It's like, I'm going to submit my own. Not tell anyone. Dalton said it would be less quality because it would be rushed. Okay. Ice cream. Buy ice cream. Eventually divide the reward. Okay. So basically, if we're looking at this study, right, and obviously, it's no 100% exact science, but we would assume that you guys would be less creative. You might not come up with something super creative and innovative when you feel rushed, when you have this time constraint, when you have this money hanging over, I'm dangling this carrot of money over your head, or ice cream, I guess you guys are saying. And that's not going to necessarily make you work harder. A lot of people are going to get stressed out with that level of competition, especially if you really need the money, right? So test after retest continues to show now on the other hand, if the task is mechanical, not a creative task, like let's say you work on an assembly line, well, yeah, then incentives work great. Say whoever makes the most of this is going to get a reward, but if it's something creative and where you have to, be thinking every second, dangling that carrot in front of us is no longer going to get us running. So he argues that that higher money is not often a good incentive. And so Dan Pink tells businesses to pay people enough to take money off the table. So it's not the only incentive. So pay them fairly, but you don't want that to be the main driver for people to take a position with you. Because let's face it, we want that money. It's important. But if you dangle it in front of us, it's not going to be the best motivator. And studies have shown the actual larger the reward, the poorer the performance. So let's say what we're saying in the chat box. Jonathan, let me go back. I noticed that when I worked on group projects, the majority of the time people would talk about the money more than the project at first. Yeah. Kyle said, I would be less creative if I focused on the money, but I'd know better, so I'd be more focused on coming up with the design and tossing the idea of money away. Oh, yeah. So you're going to say, I know that I might tend to focus on the reward, so I'm going to intentionally not do that. Michael says, explain my work's mentality on pay. Yeah, Kyle says, I just hate money. If you don't enjoy it, money doesn't matter, says Dylan. Good point. Okay. Oh, we already answered that question. So, if money isn't a main motivator, what is going to motivate people? If you're an employer or an employee looking for a job, these are the things that are going to be important. So, the secret to high performance, okay, is the drive to do things for their own sake. So science shows us that people really want three things. The first thing is autonomy. You want to be self-directed. You want to do things at your own pace and in your own way because you don't want to be micromanaged. You want autonomy over your projects, right? Say, hey, this is what you need to do. Now let me do it, kind of thing. Everyone's probably had a boss in here that micromanages them, like, how's it going on this project? Have you done this yet? What about this? What about this? And then it's just like, well, it kind of kills your motivation because you're like, just let me do it. Stop bugging me. Number 2 is mastery, which is basically saying we have the urge to get better at stuff that we find fun and satisfying. We want to be the best at it. We want to master our craft, right? And that's going to motivate us to keep going because we want to keep getting better and better and better. And then the third thing is purpose. So it's thinking about, hey, you want to make a name for yourself, you want recognition, you want your work to give you some type of purpose because that makes coming to work better. And companies that are flourishing right now are driven by this purpose motive, right? They want people or employees to feel a sense of pride and purpose in what they're doing. And those employees are going to end up working harder and being more efficient. Now, let me ask you this. How do you stay motivated with your work when you also want to get paid? How do you keep creativity's levels up? Michael said, like Tesla. I just got my Tesla Model 3. Woo! Side note. Dennis says, allow freedom. Michael says, personally or professionally? I guess in this case, we're talking about professionally. Kyle said, don't worry about the pay. You'll get that either way, so focus on the job itself. Good point. So trying to just ignore that part of it. Alyssa said, make what I'm doing into a game or ask the employer to allow music. Great point, and that's exactly, you just gave us a great segue of what we're going into, which is all about gamification. Jonathan, I strive for performance, but you must love what you do. Money comes, but productivity grows. I like that. All right, so you guys have some ideas. But what I was hinting at is making it fun. That's how you can keep your motivation up. Play can help you. You're going to find yourself, even in this class or future classes, you're going to find your motivation lacking, or when you're in a job situation and maybe you have to work on a project that you're not really passionate about, your motivation might be lacking, right? So what can you do in those situations? Well, that's where fun comes in. And like Michael said, gamification. Because guess what? Fun is the easiest way to change people's behavior for the better. So think about how you can make, we're talking a lot professionally, but you can use this in your personal life as well. If there's an activity that you don't like for example, me, I hate exercising, I just really don't enjoy it. If I make it fun somehow, then I'm more likely to do it. And so that might be something you want to think about for your weekly plans that are due tonight. So let's watch a little video about this. Fun theory. If you go to the materials section, click on piano stairs and type done in the chat box when you're finished the video. All right, it looks like most of you guys are done. So this is just one idea of how we can use play to boost our motivation, right? Instead of asking, how can I motivate people? We should say, how can I create conditions in which people will motivate themselves, right? So making the stairs into a piano and just putting it there and watching people discover it, right, makes going up the stairs more appealing than just taking the escalator. I think this one, they've done this experiment all over the place. I forget where this one is. I want to say like Norway or something. But yeah, so Gamification. What is it all about? Well, applying elements of games to non-game contexts, such as the workplace productivity, marketing, education, or personal challenge. So you've probably seen gamification all around you, but you just never knew that there was a word for it. Basically, the end goal is to get engaged in an activity and turn something that feels like work into play. And how do we do this? Well, we use things that we see in video games, right? Game mechanics. We use leaderboards, top 10 lists, badges, competitions, leveling up, points, challenges, virtual currency, progress bars. All these are some game mechanics that we can incorporate into non-game activities. Like what? Well, here's an example. In a department store, or probably like a Ross or something, cashiers can remove a hanger in 5.2 seconds. Can you do it faster? Please remove your hangers and leave them here. So they want to motivate people to take the hangers off by making it fun, making it a challenge. Another example, Nitro Type. This is a website to enhance your words per minute for typing. If you are a slow typer, or if that's something you want to work on, you can go to this website and compete with people all over the world. Earn little things for your car, design your car, level up, be on the leaderboard, right? So making learning how to type faster a fun activity. So check that out if that's something you're interested in. Okay, we're going to take another video break. Please go to your material section and click on the link gamification and type done in the chat box when you're finished. All right, looks like most of you are finished. I just really like this video, gives some really practical examples, things that you can go and check out. It also ties in extrinsic and extrinsic motivation and all about what motivates us and how we can gamify it or use gamification to help us. Still at 4 minutes. Okay. I'll give you guys another minute. All right, you guys ready? Okay. So here's my cute little 3-year-old who doesn't like to eat food. So I got her this really cool princess plate where I put a little bit of food in each one of the little sections, you guys see on the picture here. And if she eats all of that, works her way through the path like a game, she gets to the end and under the castle is a little prize, like a little chocolate or gummy. And it really helped motivate her to have fun during mealtime instead of fighting me. So, in case any of you have kids out there, check it out. All right. So, you guys want to watch one more video? Because there's another one on in the readings. It's called Poop-O-Meter, where it's a way to motivate people to pick up their dog poop. Because you know it's annoying if you're at the dog park and someone does not pick up the dog poop. Poop-O-Meter. Okay, some of you watched it already. So if you haven't watched that, go ahead and watch that when you're in the readings. Now I have one about peeing. Clearly, I have 2 toddlers, and these things are not squeamish to me at all. So let's watch one more video since we're doing pretty good on time. Go to the material section and click on ice cream potty. And when you're finished watching that, type done in the chat box, please. All right, it looks like you guys are finishing up. Just another example of gamification. If you don't recognize that guy, that's actually Dan Pink, and he has a channel on National Geographic. This is from YouTube, where he does all these experiments to try to use gamification to change people's behaviors. So he kind of comes up with these cool little tricks because he knows it's not always hard. I mean, easy. All right, so let me catch us back up. I had to go back to that one. Michael says, that was brilliant and awkward. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so mixing work and play. So we talked about how play can be used in the workplace in terms of gamification a little bit. So for this last leg of our lecture today, or the first half anyway, I want to talk about some leaders in the play movement who've really done a fantastic job of mixing work and play. So it's all about creating an environment where people are happy and they enjoy what they're doing, because happy people are going to be more productive. So another clip, because you can see I like videos. Go to your materials section. This one's a really quick one, and click on big clip. Oh wait, don't do it yet. I want to explain this movie. Okay, if you haven't seen the movie Big, it's from the 80s. It's with Tom Hanks, who I love Tom Hanks. And he is a little boy, and he goes to a carnival, and he wishes on this fortune-telling machine that he wants to become big because he sees the older kids being cool. So he goes to sleep, wakes up the next morning as a full-grown man in his bunk bed. Obviously, his mother is terrified and chases him out of the house. And he has to try to find his way around New York City, get a job, get an apartment, all these things. He ends up getting a job at a toy company. And this is at one of the meetings, one of the first meetings that he's at. So go ahead now and watch the clip and type done in the chat box when you're finished. All right, it looks like most of you guys are finishing up. So if you haven't seen this movie, you might want to check it out if it seems interesting to you. But the reason I'm showing this is because I think it's a good example of how we have to have fun in the workplace. I mean, these people work at a toy company and they don't even play with the toys to test them out. So it just makes the point that there's nothing wrong with a workplace being fun. Who would have thought? Oh my goodness, what are the benefits of this for companies? Well, it boosts morale of your employees. People are more productive. People are more creative. People are working together more. Work quality improves. It reinforces a behavior that an employer might want. And it promotes engagement. Let me check my audio. I've had a couple people say it's not working very well. Is that better? Is that better? La 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 la. Okay. Awesome. Okay. So those are some of the benefits. Now, who is doing this? Well, of course, Google. I think Google is one of the first companies to really embrace this idea of mixing work and play. They have real huge campuses all over the world, and some of the things that they do, they are able to design their own workstations. They can scribble on the walls. They play games. They have scooters. They have slides sometimes from floor to floor. They're allowed to bring their pets to work. They have all these really cool rooms where they can have meetings and collaborate. Basically, they push the boundaries of where play ends and work begins. People don't want to leave because they have everything they need in this environment. They have a cafeteria, they have someone doing laundry, they have a gym, they have everything you could possibly need. So you're more likely to stay and work longer hours and get more creative juices flowing if you're in the zone, because you're not rushing home to figure out what you're going to eat for dinner, right? So they really kind of started this play revolution. Another example is Zappos, which is a $1 billion online retail business. They have 1,400 employees, and despite their growth over the last few years, they have an open communication culture. So the CEO of this company is all about Zappos culture. So what does that mean? Well, they have 10 core values listed on their website, and some of the ones that I read that are kind of fun. Let's say one is create fun and a little weirdness. Another one is do more with less. Another one is deliver wow through service. They do a lot of company activities because they want people to connect, work together. They do contest dioramas. They do Easter egg hunts every year. Various departments hold cookouts regularly. They have this crazy decorated workspace. And another interesting thing is that there's two interviews with Zappos. So the first is to see if you meet the qualifications and if you fit with the Zappos culture is the second one. So at the end of the training that everyone receives, they offer the class money for the time spent in the training as well as a $2,000 bonus to quit now, because they don't want people that are there for the money, right? You have to be committed to the goals and the culture the company prefers. Hey, if you want to take the money, then we don't want you, because that just means you're all about money. If you take it, though, you can't come back. So remember what we learned about intrinsic or an extrinsic motivation, especially extrinsic money, right? Doesn't necessarily motivate people. Another example is Dropbox. This is one of their little conference rooms. Imagine just chit-chatting or brainstorming while playing with Legos. We do this at our office sometimes. I know one time we made Floam, which is like this slime with little like styrofoam balls in it. And we just made that while we were having our meeting, and it was so much fun. Instead of just sitting there, right? It was more motivating to like have a fun, playful environment. And that's what these companies are doing. I do have a video in the material section for Dropbox, but we're not going to watch it now because I don't want you guys to get videoed out. But make sure you click on that link before we log off of the session today if you want to watch it. And it basically is showing you a tour of the Dropbox headquarters, and they have a whole music studio room with a full drum set and instruments for people to have jam sessions in between meetings, or if they need a break to relax. They have these hammocks and like kind of like bed looking lounge chairs so you can get comfortable and take a break if you need to. All the conference rooms look kind of like this. Kyle's like, I want a Legos. I know what I always play. I have silly putty on my desk, and usually I bring it when I'm teaching, but I forgot it today because I like to just play something and keep my hands busy while I'm talking. So, like I said, go back and watch that video when you get a chance. Let's move on to the second half of our session where we're going to talk about conflict. Any questions about motification or gamification before we move on? Kyle said when he was 8, he took it to bed at my pillow. It got stuck to my head. I had to get my hair to cut my hair to get it off. Yeah, silly putty and hair do not mix well together. All right, let's move on. Why are we talking about conflict? Well, it can be costly to a company. So, one of the top skills employers are looking for in an employee is good teamwork skills. They want you to be able to work together because we know that brainstorming and that creative process gets ignited when we work together as a team. So companies want to figure out, okay, well, how are people dealing with conflict? Because it's associated with emotional fatigue, absenteeism, and turnover. So what does conflict mean exactly? What's this definition? Well, conflict is a transactional process between people who perceive incompatible goals, scarce resources, or interference in achieving their objectives. So is conflict good or bad? Or in between? Oops. Both. In between. Okay. So basically, there's a lot of myths about conflict. But I think I think it's in my later slides. So first, let's have some conflict. Doesn't that sound like fun? Because conflict is inevitable. Conflict is normal in relationships, personal relationships, in professional relationships. There are going to be times that we perceive incompatible goals, right? Or we have scarce resources. And now we both need this. And who's going to get it, right? So this happens all the time. So how do you deal with conflict? That's what we're going to think about today. How do you deal with conflict? All right, so now we're going to do an activity. I'm going to read this to you. Feel free to read along with me. I'm giving you an ethical dilemma. You guys are a team. There's 32 of you in here, okay? And you are working together to solve this dilemma. So, after being cut out of the wolf's belly, Red Riding Hood's grandmother sends Red back home by a different road. Grandmother doesn't mention that the road is rumored to have many dangers, especially a troll. Red Riding Hood is on her way back from grandmother's house when she passes a friend of hers, Goldilocks. Sorry, I had to cough. Goldilocks, who just narrowly escaped the troll living under the bridge up ahead. Red and Goldilocks talk about the weather and the wolves and the bears, and then they both head on their way. But Goldilocks does not warn Red about the troll she's about to face. As Red approaches the bridge with the troll under it, she finds an old beggar and offers him some bread. The beggar thanks her, but also does not say a word about the troll, although he too knows it is there. Red Riding Hood then crosses the bridge, which is guarded on the far end by a knight, and he is drunk and is passed out on a shift. Red Riding Hood is looking up at the clouds and not paying attention at all, and the troll, who's rather slow and loud, is able to sneak up on her, kill her, and eat her without anyone even noticing, not even Red. Your team's task is to determine who is to blame for Red's fate and in what order, with rank 1 being the character whose fault it is the most, and rank 6 being the character whose fault is at least. You have 10 minutes. Okay, so what I need now is I need 5 group leaders to talk on the microphone. The rest of you can comment in the chat box to help your team leaders. Please raise your hand if you have a working microphone or just in a semi-quiet space where we can hear you. Raise your hand. All right, we got Jonathan, Andrew, Alyssa. We got 3 leaders so far. Kyle, and we need 1 more. Be brave. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and start unmuting you guys. Okay, no other volunteers. Okay, we'll just have 4. Oh, here we go. Whitney, you're unmuted. You have to just make sure you unmute yourself on your end, Whitney. There you go. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and set the timer and then mute myself. Team leaders, you can discuss amongst yourselves the order, and please remember that the rest of your team is going to be communicating with you in the chat box. And go.
Okay. Can everyone hear me?
Hello? Hello? Can you hear me?
Hello? Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, awesome. All right, so I'm just supposing that the grandmother is definitely one to blame for this.
Mm-hmm.
The only other one I can think of would be Goldilocks for not even mentioning it either. But then Red Riding Hood is also to blame, so I don't know.
Probably. I think it's the grandmother's fault because she's family.
Yeah.
Goldilocks, but she's the friend.
I mean, how many times would, a family member tell you, hey, that's a bad side of town, don't go in that side of town, or be careful? So yeah, I agree.
I mean, she sent her down that road knowing that it was there.
Yeah.
So why not tell her in advance?
Exactly.
Why not? Why don't Red Riding Hood ask questions? Like, why don't she just say?
I was wondering the same thing.
Yeah, she should say, hey, is it safe?
She's not even talking at all. Like I blame her.
The grandmother would tell her though.
Yeah.
I would say probably Grandma first, and then Goldilocks, and then Red.
Yeah, that makes sense, because, I mean, she's going to travel on this destination of a path unknown, and she doesn't even, care at all,
Hey, the people in the comments are saying it's the troll should be number 1 because he committed the actual murder. Well, of course.
Murder is at stake, yeah.
It's the troll's, instinct to kill. You can't really blame the troll for doing what it does.
I mean, it's hiding under the bridge to eat people. That's kind of its reason. Sure, it's number 1, but person below him would be Grandma.
Yep.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, I'm fine with that order.
The troll's bad, but again, the troll's how do you call it? It's just a monster just doing its own thing.
Yep, I mean, that's what he wanted. It's what the troll wanted.
I think maybe after Goldilocks would be the knight, because he's supposed to be watching.
Oh yeah, he doesn't guard it.
He's drunk. Why is he
drunk? He's on the other side though. It's just the far end.
Yeah, I think the beggar's probably the least, because I mean, he's an old homeless man. He doesn't care.
Yeah.
The beggar was what, the third person she met, So
A
like,
third person on the way there, I think.
but like she had like two other person that could have told her, you know.
Yeah, before
So it's
that.
like it's kind of shifting the blame in a way.
See, that's what this ethical dilemma is so about. It's just like confusing the heck out of all of us right now.
I mean, true, the troll is the most obvious suspect because he's just gonna go kill her anyway. But I mean, Grandma is.
No, yeah, the
Yeah,
number one,
grandma's flesh and blood, man. You can't just like, Red Riding Hood do what she wants.
She's a little girl.
Yeah. She
yeah,
has no consequences in her path.
the only one who's at fault is the grandmother. She's the one that talked to her first and did not mention it.
Not to mention, it was right after being cut out of the wolf's belly.
Oh, wait a minute. After being cut out of the wolf's belly. Okay.
Yeah, so this was right after being eaten and regurgitated.
Yeah, so she really had no consequence to begin with. Wow. Yeah, see, after reading that back at the beginning, I'm just like, wow, she just like really did this stupid thing in the first place.
I don't think Grandma cares.
Yeah, Grandma doesn't care at this point. Grandma's like, go ahead and get eaten by a troll next. Like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Just as long as you bring me my cookies.
It's like thanks for these cookies, Red. Now go get eaten by a troll.
Actually, the wolf could be to blame too for her being cut out.
He's the one that started it.
Yeah, he's the instigator.
He's part of the reason that they're there in the first place. Well, Grandma still, because I mean.
Yeah, Grandma's got to be at the top because
she
doesn't mention. Yeah, she doesn't mention anything.
She's the first one to talk to Red. No, so again, it's all like shifting blame, like, yeah.
Oh wait, actually.
Whoever built the bridge is at fault. That's funny.
Yeah, after rereading this, it's like after being cut out of the wolf's belly, Red Riding Hood's grandmother sends Red back home. So she gets freaking eaten. Yeah, she gets eaten by the freaking wolf, and just like, go ahead, Red Riding Hood, do what you want.
Bye. Have good luck.
Take the road less traveled upon.
I think it's also like there's no scout. I was reading a comment, Bridge's fault, and I'm just thinking it might be people don't scout the bridge as much, and so like why a troll would live under a bridge.
It's because the knight like is on the opposite side apparently. So it's like
the night's right before the bridge. I think that it would be the grandma and then the knight, because the knight's whole job was to tell her.
Yeah, he's there to protect the bridge from like monsters. So, and he's drunk and asleep.
Actually, what is such bogus is the troll is under the bridge too. So like it doesn't become the knight's problem anyway. It's so weird. This is so freaking.
Actually, I was reading it. And it says like, okay, so the troll is like slow and loud, right? But like, is able to see it. Like how? Okay, so I'm assuming that Red is pretty dumb then.
Maybe
Red is definitely pretty silly right now.
Yeah, she's trying to recuperate from being eaten, guys.
I mean, she's in shock, but like the troll is loud. She should have heard it behind her at least.
That should have took the day off then.
Okay, so like I said in the chat, I got my mic fixed now. The guard is supposed to be guarding the bridge, whether or not anyone warns Red or not about the troll.
Yeah,
that's true. Let's put the guard responsible in this.
That's why I put him before the beggar, because the beggar, I mean, sure, he knows about the troll, but he's an old homeless man. You don't really expect them to talk directly to you.
See, because this knight is drunk and passed out on
duty. Yeah. Whether or not she was warned about the troll or not.
He's supposed to tell her when she gets there.
Yeah, this is a bad night. He's going to get fired.
Actually, now think about it, I don't think the grandma told Red because it is a rumor. Rumors are not true. You know what I mean?
Hey, that is true. That's another way of looking at it. See, this whole thing is so mind-boggling.
But this is like medieval days. If it's rumored to be dangerous, it probably is.
Oh, yeah. Rumored is definitely dangerous.
Well, the thing is, though, whether or not she was told, she still has the chance of being killed.
Exactly.
So it was really up to the guard whether or not
Beggar's
he was actually going to be killed.
Yep, I agree. And shame on Grandma for getting cut out of a wolf's belly and not saying anything. So jacked up. The bad grandma.
Well, we're talking about a knight. Are we talking about like a trained knight or just like a bridge guard?
I
Night.
guess just a guard, just say, because, I mean, he's just a night guard.
I mean, he could have at least warned her and said, "Hey, don't cross this bridge."
The thing is, it's like the job like just a sign-up job, or is it like a train job? Because it
He's
could be
probably trained.
a train. Yeah, then that's bad then.
Either way, if he's drunk, it doesn't matter if he has training.
He's not
I
doing
think
No, yeah, exactly. He should not be drunk. You know, he
I
should.
think it should be troll, knight, grandma, and then them girls, and then the beggar.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's put the beggar last. I
what I've
think.
been saying.
Yeah, I would put the beggar last.
Where's the grandma in this?
The grandma.
Grandma's 1 or 2. Grandma's
Yeah, I
got to
think-
be up
Could
there.
I say that Red is one because she don't even
Yeah,
talk.
she's
not bothered.
yeah. She has
You
no
dumb.
discipline.
The
Yeah.
red troll. Grandma.
Red should be 1. Grandma number 2. Number 3 should be.
The knight.
I would.
I think that the knight
that's
should be
so
above the
confusing.
grandma.
I think the knight should be number 1. To be honest.
I think it should be
Goldilocks
the
is
knight,
her
then grandma.
friend.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. I
Goldilocks,
mean,
grandma, then
the knight.
grandma.
The thing is, the knight should not be drunk.
Exactly.
Yeah, the knight shouldn't be drunk.
I mean, that was his job.
I put number 3, so it should be Red Riding Hood, the grandmother, the knight, Goldilocks, then the beggar should be last.
So the troll would be between Goldilocks and the beggar.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say
Yeah.
that.
He's a
'Cause, like,
monster.
again, the troll is just doing what it does. Okay, it's not.
Yeah, it's not
it's
the
troll.
I'm
troll's
saying a
fault.
killer is just doing what it does. It's still wrong.
Yeah, the troll's definitely going to be in the 5 or 6 category.
Yeah.
The
I mean,
troll
sure,
is.
it's wrong.
Actually,
but
put the beggar 5, the troll 6. That's it. That's that's perfect.
Because I mean, like the troll's just eating. He's
The troll. Okay, it's like it can't change what a troll cannot do. Okay, like it's like for like a monster. A monster is gonna kill people. You can't really change its instinct.
Yeah,
not gonna
that's
be
what a
You can't-
troll's going to do. The troll is the troll regardless, so it's
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's still a bad thing. It's still gonna be 6. Just
Yeah.
because there was other people that could have avoided this. So
Yeah, and it should be one above all Red Riding Hood's fault.
All
yeah,
right,
she's not
so
even talking.
I still hear you guys hashing out the order. I don't think.
We got it, I think.
Okay, what is it?
So we had Red Riding Hood number 1, the grandmother number 2, right? And then number 3 the knight, number 4 Goldilocks, number 5 beggar, and the troll number 6. I believe that was the order.
yeah.
I don't think we came to an agreement.
Well, not a
Third.
full-on agreement, but the one we were discussing last before, that was the what part we were discussing.
All right, I'm gonna mute you guys for a second. Thank you for participating and stepping up and volunteering to be our team leaders. Oterio says, I object. Well, guess what? What is the correct answer to this ethical dilemma? There is none, because everyone has a different opinion, and it would be very, very difficult for us all to agree, 32 people, on what the order should be. So what do you do in that situation when you perceive this ethical dilemma in a different way of someone else, but you're working as a team and you have a time pressure and you have to come up with an order, right? It's going to create some conflict. So that was my experiment on you. I apologize. So let's discuss this. For those of you who are in the chat box, which is the majority of you, we only had a few team leaders. Did you agree with the leader's decision? The leader's decision. A strong no from Ian. Justin says no. Other Justin says yes. 50%. Okay, so a little bit all over the place. Yes, no, 50%. Okay. So, difficult, right? And then how does it feel if you don't agree with your team leaders, but they're the ones with the voice because they're unmuted, right? How do you feel in the chat box if you don't agree? You might feel misunderstood. You might feel like your voice wasn't heard or your opinion wasn't heard. Dylan says, like I am at my normal job. Ian says, indifferent. Right. So how you handle that is maybe going to tell you a little bit about how you might handle conflict. You just kind of disengage? Do you just let the leaders take charge and sit back and watch the show? Do you try to step up and say your opinion again and again until someone hears you? Right? So think about how you handled it in this situation. Yeah, that's true, Kyle. Good point. It is difficult to keep up with the chat box because every time, you type something, it goes up. Yeah, the chat box is not very big on this. Dennis typed in all caps to get their attention. Yeah, so you have to keep repeating yourself, right? So it's probably frustrating. Well, I just said some conflict that I noticed. Any other conflict that you guys noticed? We were all talking. Yeah, sometimes, when there's a lot of people on a team and everyone has a strong opinion, or even when the leaders are all talking, it's difficult to take turns. There was a lot of back and forth. And depending on people's style of communication, right, and how they communicate their opinions, right, and it's hard because you want everyone's idea in there. So I saw a lot of times you guys changed, right? So you started off with, okay, red's all down at the bottom, and then no, red's moving up at the top, and the troll's not at fault, and then the troll, so I saw a lot of times, like we say here, your opinion's changed based on the group leader's discussion or on a comment that someone said in the chat box, right? So sometimes that's going to happen. Other people's perceptions are going to influence you to maybe change your mind. And depending on your style of conflict management, that might either bug you or you might be like, oh yeah, I could see it that way. What real life institutions or situations does this represent? What do you guys think? And I'm going to put your hands down, so if you want to raise your hand, feel free. I forgot to mention that. Brainstorming, yeah. Politics, oh God, yes. Otero being disregarded. Alyssa said criminal trials. Dalton says, I agree with Whitney. What did Whitney say? Let me see. Politics, yeah. Michael said, I was surprised by how hard everyone judged the guard, but didn't blame the troll. Well, you know what? Ethical dilemmas come down to what your values are, right? So let's say you are in the military or police or something like that. You might value someone who's able to protect the people, and you might blame the knight for not doing his job because that's something that's important to you. Or if you value family, family first, then you might blame grandma, right? Or if you are a strong belief that friends are family, and you might have been really pissed at Goldilocks, right? So it depends on your personal values, which is why this is difficult. Yeah, so it definitely gets you thinking about that. So, what are some misconceptions about conflict? Well, we think, oh, conflict is bad, it should be avoided. No, conflict is normal. It's not fun all the time, but we need conflict in order to come to solutions if there is some type of decision that needs to be made. Conflict represents a misunderstanding or breakdown in communication. Not necessarily. You could have really effective communication, everyone sharing your opinion, but you could still have conflict, right? Because you have incompatible goals or, like I said, scarce resources. Andrew says conflict builds relations. Yes, for sure, because you learn to work together and through a problem. Another myth is that all conflict can be resolved to everyone's satisfaction. Well, I think this ethical dilemma was a great example of that, right? Not everyone is going to be happy. in a conflict, especially if you have a large amount of people involved. So this brings us to conflict management styles. We're going to do an activity so we can learn what your conflict management style is. And I want you to think about this activity that we did and see if it kind of matches how you responded. So what I need you to do is take out a piece of paper and a pen, or your phone, or somewhere you can write down your responses. And you're going to number with letters from A to O. So A, B, C, D, all the way down. And then when I read the statement to you, you're going to answer the statement using the following key. So 1 is if you always feel that way. 2 is if you're very often feeling that way. 3, sometimes. 4, not very often. 5, rarely, if ever, do you do this. Okay? Just go with your gut. I'm going to go through these pretty quickly because it's not an exact science. And so just what do you typically do? And of course, it's going to depend on the situation, but don't overthink it. Just kind of go with your first reaction, okay? Raise your hand if you are not ready and you need more time to write down your letters. Okay, no one has, oh, one person. Okay, we're just waiting on Tristan to get ready. Just put your hand down when you're ready and then I'll get started. Okay, all right, so I'm going to start. So next to A, you're going to put your number, sorry. All right, A. I argue my case with peers, colleagues, and coworkers to demonstrate the merits of the position I take. B. I try to reach compromises through negotiation. C. I attempt to meet the expectation of others. D. I seek to investigate issues with others in order to find solutions that are mutually acceptable. E. I am firm and resolved when it comes to defending my side of the issue. F. I try to avoid being singled out, keeping conflict with others to myself. G. I uphold my solutions to problems. H. I compromise in order to reach solutions. I trade important information with others so problems can be solved together. J. I avoid discussing my differences with others. K. I try to accommodate the wishes of my peers and colleagues. L. I seek to bring everyone's concerns out into the open in order to resolve disputes in the best possible way. M. I put forward middle's positions in efforts to break deadlocks. N. I accept the recommendations of my colleagues, peers, and coworkers. O. I avoid hard feelings by keeping my disagreements with others to myself. All right, I'm going to put up the questions in case you need it, if you missed one. Okay, raise your hand if you need more time. All right, so let's move on to scoring. So you're going to add up the numbers next to A, E, and G and get a total, and that's going to be your score for the shark. Or competing, these are different animals. Then you're going to add up D, I, and L, get a total, that's going to be your owl score, and so forth. I'll give you guys a minute. All right, raise your hand if you still need more time. All right, just waiting on a couple people. Put your hand down when you're finished. All right, just waiting on Tristan and Andrew. So don't guess what you are yet, because your lowest score is going to be your dominant style of dealing with conflict. Your lowest score. If it's a tie, then you might alternate between two. Your lowest score is your dominant style of dealing with conflict. All right, so we're going to go through what these mean. Andrew and Tristan, do you still need more time? Okay, Andrew, do you need more time? Just put your hand down when you're ready. All right. So, what animal are you guys? Let me throw out a poll. I know some of you already answered. Let's see what styles we have in here. Go ahead and type it. I mean, not type it. Vote on the poll that popped up on your screen. Okay, 44% of you have voted. Remember, your lowest score. If it's a tie, obviously you just pick one for the sake of the poll. All right, I'll give you guys 10 more seconds to enter your animal so we can go over what they mean. All right, only 56% of you voted, but let's see what we got. So we have 28% teddy bear, then foxes and owls, 22%, turtle, 17%, and then shark. So lowest gets put in the primary, yes. So the lowest score is your dominant style of dealing with conflict. Okay, so what the heck does this mean? Let's find out. For all my sharks out there, you have a competing nature. You are assertive, but do not hesitate to use aggressive behavior if needed. You are not worried about the relationships with the other people you're having a conflict with. It's not a priority to you because you are very goal-oriented and you just want to solve the problem, and that is what is a priority. You also have the need to win, so if there's a competition element, you really step up to be a shark to make sure that you win or solve that problem the fastest. Now, when is it appropriate to be a shark? Well, if the conflict involves personal differences that are hard to change, right? So let's say you're talking to someone with politics and they're on the other end of the spectrum as you. Well, then you might not care necessarily about if you know you're not going to change that person's mind, that you don't mind being a little bit more assertive or aggressive. Personal relationships are not important or critical. So let's say you're in a boat on a cruise ship with a bunch of strangers and you guys got to figure out how to get the lifeboat down if the boat is sinking, right? You're not going to be worried about making friends and being cordial. You're going to be like, this is, a survival thing. We need to focus on the goal at hand. And when conflict resolution is urgent in that type of situation, yes, it's appropriate to be a shark. You don't got time to waste. You're not making friends. Or if people are taking advantage of you, your shark side might come out. Andrew says, sounds like snakes. All right, so what are the positives of sharks? Well, decisions can be made without compromise. They can be made quickly, and the shark will come out and be like, hey, this is what we're going to do. I'm going to make the executive decision. This is what it is. Okay? So usually the sharks kind of step up to make a decision quickly. And the cons are it breeds resentment from others because other people might be like, why are they being so aggressive? Like, what's the big deal? So if you are a shark, you need to think very carefully about when this side of you comes out. Let me give you an idea. Would you think that using this style would be appropriate with a significant other? Right. Nope. Probably not. There might be some situation where it might be, but if you're going to treat your significant other this way when the relationship is a main priority, they might not react so well. Andrew says if you're trying to be single. Yeah, exactly. Then let your shark side come out. All right. But depending on the situation, this side might come out even if it's your lowest score. I mean, if someone tries to like mess with my kids, oh, I'm going to be a shark. Even though I tend to avoid conflict, in that situation, it's like the shark side of me comes out. Okay. I don't care who I'm talking to. So it depends on the situation, like I said. But that's definitely not my dominant style. Yep, I'm a shark. All right, so let's move on to the turtle. The turtle has an avoiding nature when it comes to conflict, right? They hide in their shell, they're unassertive, they're passive, they hate conflict, and they just want to withdraw, and they don't want to have to worry about it. They'd rather hide than deal with it because they just dislike it, okay? Actually, the majority of Americans use this style. Americans apparently don't like to handle conflict, so we just try to pretend like everything's fine and hide in our little shell. But, yes, this is appropriate at certain times. Let's say there's little chance in satisfying what you want in the conflict. Like you're like, well, there's no way that anyone's ever going to listen to me, so I'm not even going to bother. Or when confrontation will hurt the working atmosphere. So if you believe if you say something, it's not gonna be good for you. So you're just like, I'll just keep it to myself. Or when others can more effectively resolve the issue. So you see that there's an expert in the room, then you're probably gonna be like, okay, well, I know that they're really good at this, so I'm gonna let them take the lead. And when delaying the time of the conflict is necessary. Okay, so holding back. Well, what are the positives of being a turtle? Well, it helps you maintain the relationship. If you're not gonna go back and forth with someone, then they're probably going to be pretty happy with you because then they get what they want, right? But the cons are because turtles hate conflict, they often get walked all over because they don't let anyone even know there's a problem. And they avoid conflict altogether. So people sometimes are like, well, I didn't know you had a problem with it because you didn't say anything. So that's the turtle. Then we have the teddy bear, which is an accommodating nature. They are unassertive, so they don't always speak up what they're thinking or beliefs are, but they're cooperative and they're willing to help others. They place a huge emphasis on people and relationships. So they're people pleasers. They want to make everyone else happy. They don't like conflict either, but they don't want to step on anyone's toes because harmony and connection are very important to them. Okay, so it's appropriate to be a teddy bear when the relationship is at the utmost importance. Like someone said earlier, oh, I'm like that with my girlfriend, right? Sometimes we need to be a teddy bear and say, oh, what do you want, honey? Where do you want to eat tonight, honey? Which is like a loaded question. Where do you want to eat today? Yeah. So yes, it's appropriate to be this at certain times, right? Obviously, with significant others, probably sometimes, or if change isn't important. So you're like, oh, I'm okay with the way things are going. I don't really have a say either way. And the relationship or harmony is most important. So you don't want to rock the boat, and you just want things to kind of go smoothly. You don't want to make it into some big drama, or when you don't have a lot of time. So you're just like, okay, sure, honey. When is this a positive? Well, the good thing about it is you maintain rapport with the person or the people, right? They are going to like you because you're accommodating them. And the cons are, well, you're kind of ignoring your own wants and needs, and that might lead to you being taken for granted. So something to think about. All right, then we have our foxes, compromising nature. They are both assertive, which means they speak their mind respectfully, and cooperative. They want to work well with other people. They're willing to sacrifice personal goals while convincing others to do the same. Hey, I'll sacrifice this, you sacrifice this, so we can meet in the middle and move forward. And they try to convince others to do that too. Relationships are a concern for them, but they also value their own personal goals and they want to share them. So it's appropriate to be a fox when issues of great value have no simple solutions. So it's important and you don't know what to do, so you kind of have to meet in the middle. A lot of times we do this in relationships, right? Or when conflicting people hold the same rank or power. So if everyone's kind of on the same level and no one can really step up and take the lead, you end up compromising. Or if you have all the time in the world. Cons are foxes compromise for the good of the goals, but often a less than ideal outcome will result for both people because both people are having to give up a little bit of what they want, right? To meet in the middle. So they're not both truly happy. But the positives are that conflicts are removed and the relationship remains stable. Then we have lastly the owl, collaborating nature. Owls are assertive, owls are cooperative, they want to work together with people. They view conflict as a problem that needs to be solved, not about drama, not about personal relationships. Let's just focus on a problem and how to solve it. And everyone's opinion is equally valued. And equality balances relationships and personal goals, or equally. So the relationship is just as important as what you believe to be the solution to the problem. So it's appropriate to be an owl when you're trying to merge various perspectives, or when personal relationships are crucial, or when peer conflict is present. And this style actually requires the most time because you're not compromising and meeting in the middle, you're finding a true solution to the problem. So the positives of this style is it has the potential for both parties to be happy. The only true win-win. And the cons are, like I said, it takes the most time. I don't know what you guys are talking about in the chat box, but you're going off on animal talk. Got weird with it. Animal Planet over here. That's all right. Who doesn't like animals? Okay, so hopefully, what do you guys think? Do you agree with what style you ended up with and how I explained it? Michael said, yeah. Dalton, yeah. Andrew said, yep. Definitely now. Okay, so it's pretty accurate for you. And like I said, it might depend on the situation. I'm not always a teddy bear. Yeah, but sometimes. Sometimes. And think about you guys that were doing the ethical dilemma on the microphones. Did your style come out? Right? I'm betting that those of you who volunteered for that activity are definitely not turtles. Because you were like, "Hey, I'm gonna speak up. I'm gonna participate." Lissa was a shark and an owl. Okay, I could see that. You definitely had some strong opinions that you shared, and you also were trying to work together to find a solution. I see that for sure. Kyle said, I missed out on like half the discussion due to mic issues, so terrifying combo, Michael says. All right. Okay, so let's do a little example with an orange. We'll go through this pretty quickly. Okay, so there's person A is the shark, person B is me. I'm neutral. Okay? We both want the orange. According to the styles, which person would get the orange? Kyle says shark. Shark. Michael says whoever has the money. Shark, shark, shark. Shark. I'm neutral. So I'm neutral. I don't think of me as having a style. Right. Shark. Exactly. You guys got it. Shark's going to be like, well, I'm not going to wait for her to decide what she wants. I'm going to take what I want. Turtle. We both want the orange. Who is going to end up with the orange? Me. Yep. The turtle is basically going to just hide in their shell and say, nothing. And I'm just going to pick it up and take it. What about the teddy bear? We both want the orange. Okay, I saw some splits, but a lot of you or sharing. You might think, oh, they want to be nice. But if they want to truly be a teddy bear, they're just going to give me the orange. They're going to say, oh, I want to make her happy. Here's the orange. You have it. Because remember, they're still unassertive. Yes, I would win that. Okay, then we have the fox. Compromising nature. Each get half, says Dalton. Yes, we're going to split it. We both get something. And then if it were the owl, who would get the orange? Owl. Find another orange. Yeah. Oh, that's a good one. Find another orange. Al just wants to do the puzzle of peeling and slicing. Al would make you reconsider wanting it in the first place. Sounds like the owl is being manipulative. All right. Well, the owl is going to try to figure out how to solve the problem, right? Because that's what's important. So they're going to say, hey, why do you want this orange? And I'm going to say, oh, you know what? I would like to make jam with the peel. And Al says, oh, that's great. I want the fruit. So we can both get what we want. So obviously this is the most ideal style, but it doesn't mean that they're any are bad or good. It just depends on the situation. So hopefully you learned a little bit about yourself and your conflict management style. So the next time you have a conflict or you're going through your classes here at Full Sail and you will have team assignments and team activities to do with people from all over the country if you're still online. And yes, conflicts are going to arise. So think about these styles and how you typically tend to behave and maybe if that needs to be adapted depending on the situation. All right. Any questions? We finished up a little early. So remember to click on the link in the material section for the Dropbox if you want to watch that. Team Shark. A fun competitive group. That's what Jonathan said. Both wanted the orange. Okay. All right. Any questions about the material, the things that we covered today? Gamification, motivation, work and play, conflict management, styles. Nada? All right. Well, thank you guys so much for participating. You guys make it go by faster when you're in the chat box and talking to each other and interacting. So I appreciate that very much. Thank you guys. Have a great rest of your day.